Good morning. Welcome to the Keto Mom page. My name is Stephanie, and we are diving into the second half of chapter 4 of this book. So, as you're tuning in, what would be a fun question of the morning? Do you eat breakfast or do you intermittent fast? Something different. The sun is coming up. It was beautiful this morning. It was pink and orange. And so, good morning. I sound stuffed up. I feel great. I sound a little stuffy. Part of the reason I think it is because we've had the fireplace going so much. And I honestly think some of the ashes and the smoke are just in my head. So, I feel super great. I just sound not great. So, but what's great is you're not next to me. You get to listen to me. So, all right, yesterday we talked about the law of reflection. I got an interesting question. Somebody had said, hey, you're talking about, because yesterday, the book is incredible, but yesterday it talked about how sometimes, and actually most times throughout your day, or even in the evenings before you go to bed, he said it's really good to sit and reflect on your day, almost like journaling. Sit and reflect and make sure that you're going in the right direction, because sometimes you need to course correct. And so somebody said, isn't it interesting because you're always talking about taking action? Basically, the question was, you're constantly talking about taking action, and then you talk about reflecting. And I said, here's the main idea of any, let's just say, personal growth or self-development book. They're all going to be very similar. They're going to give you habits and systems and ideas. They're going to give you a routine. They're going to give you all of these things. So you learn something, right? And the key is to take action on it. Sometimes we take action and we aren't moving in the right direction, or maybe we need to make a pivot. So at the end of the day, what chapter 4 is talking about is just the power of reflection. So before you go to bed, whether you journal or you just sit, you kind of take a recap of your whole day. What did I do? How did it work out? Have I been doing that same thing for a year and haven't seen any change? Do I need to make a pivot? That's it. It's not saying don't take action. It's saying to reflect on your day, which I think is great. And so we're going to finish the rest of chapter 4. And basically he's talking about personal awareness, which I love. This is something that I told the girls at the beginning of our year. We have 4 daughters, if you're brand new. And I said, if there's one thing I can teach you this year, like we each chose a word of the year, but if there's one thing I can teach you overall, it's the power of having an awareness. Awareness. I should be careful what I say. I wanted to say many people don't have awareness. But in reality, awareness of yourself and your goals, awareness of other people around you, awareness of environments that you're in, awareness. I am shocked at how many people either don't acknowledge other people or don't have an awareness of anything. So that's just been a word in our home. But he talked about personal awareness questions. He says it's always good when you reflect to ask yourself some questions. Excuse me, I have to wipe my runny nose. I feel like a kid. I really do. So here's a couple questions he asks. I'm not going to write them out. This is an incredible book. So if your goal is, which I believe everybody's goal should be, to work on personal growth, some of these, it's just great to actually have the book or the Audible book, right? Or so you can read it on like Kindle. But the questions he says is, ask yourself questions when you're going through that reflection time. A question could be, what is my biggest asset? He says, it's great to know where your strength is at. He's an encourager. I actually am as well. I feel like that's one of my biggest strengths. He's like, it's great to know that. What is my biggest liability? He says he has unrealistic expectations. It's great to know what your weakness or your biggest liability is so that you can work on that, or just have an awareness around it. He is a go-getter and he's optimistic, but he also doesn't have realistic expectations. So it's good to know that so that you get let down, right? Or have an awareness of how long some things might take. What are my highest highs is a question. What were my lowest lows? What is my most worthwhile emotion? What is my least worthwhile emotion? He's basically just saying, ask yourself good questions. Reflect on how your day went, and do you need to make a pivot or change? What is my best habit? I actually love what this said. I'm going to read it to you. The sun is coming in funny. Hold on. All right. He said, now he didn't say, he said it was from an 𝗵𝗶 𝗍𝗵. I don't know who he is, but what we do on some great occasions depend on what we are. It's so interesting, some of the verbiage. It's from the 1800s. What we do on some great occasions will depend on what we are, and what we are will be the result of previous years of self-discipline. I read it and I was like, ooh, that's good. Interesting verbiage, and that's good. Who we are today is a result of the disciplines that we've had over the last, or the lack of discipline that we've had over the last however many years, right? I believe that 100%, he says, that is one of the reasons I work so hard to follow through on daily disciplines. I believe a person's secret to success is found in his daily agenda. That is why we have gone through the books like The Miracle Morning or Atomic Habits, or books to help you grow personally, but also to help you create systems and habits so that you continue on and don't just get to a goal and then stop because you actually didn't create the system, and therefore you backtrack after a year and you have to start over again. So he said a couple more questions just to give yourself a reflection, like, what is my worst habit? Have an awareness of that. He says his worst habit is being impatient. He says there are things in life that we have to work for. We have to work for it, right? Everything. And there are things that we have to wait for. It's called patience. Another question is, what is most fulfilling to me? What do I prize most high? And then he just gives you a bazillion questions. Not really, but he basically said if you've got relationship goals, you should ask yourself relationship questions. If you have personal goals or personal growth goals, here are some questions to ask. I'm not going to read all those to you, but at the very end, he says this, is it worth the trouble? He says, all of these probably sound like a lot of different steps to do. This whole book is full of steps that if you take and if you implement into your life, eventually you will reap the harvest of planting all of those seeds, right? And doing the little disciplines daily. It's no different than this book, and I brought this book out for a reason. I'll tell you why in just a second. But he says, all of these problems sound like a lot of steps and a lot of trouble. It takes time, and you're right. That's why most people never do it. He said, but is it worth it? Yes, 100%. The further you go in life, the more critical it is that you take time to pause and think, to make sure that if you need to course correct, that you do so. The older that you are, the less time that you have to stay on purpose, and the less time that you have to stay on purpose and to do the things that you were excited to, and created to do. But here's the good news. If you've been diligent in your efforts to grow along the way, you will also be better equipped to fulfill the purpose you were created for, even if it requires you make some significant changes or course correct. Oftentimes people don't. Let's say you set a goal and your goal is fat loss, right? Most people, if they have a little bit of discipline and they've got a goal in mind, the wedding, the anniversary, the vacation, summer, swimsuit season, can get them to where they want to go if they have a little bit of discipline. Here's the kicker. This. He says, if you want to accomplish great goals, if you want to be better, if you want to have more personal growth, if you want to keep it and sustain it and be able to teach it to others, like if it's not just a selfish motive to get to swimsuit season or a vacation, you're going to have to put in the work. You're not going to get to swimsuit season or vacation or wedding or whatever the case may be. You might achieve that one goal, but you most likely won't hold it if you have not created systems, if you have not done the hard work, and people don't want to do it. The reason I brought this book out is because if you've not read it, and if you actually want to create systems and habits, whether it's this book or Atomic Habits by James Clear, it requires work. It requires changing habits. It requires getting up early. It requires taking some time to reflect and to write things down. It's the little things, like he said, it's the little actions every day that will get you to where you want to go. And most people don't want to do them because they don't want to put in the work. So you might get to that swimsuit season, you might get to that wedding where you look a certain way, or the vacation, but are you equipped to hold it? Are you equipped to stay there? Are you equipped to keep moving forward after that? Have you put in the systems and have you created the habits to sustain it long term? And if you haven't, my encouragement to you is to grab a book like this. It's an easy read, super small, and actually do the work. If you own your morning, you're going to own your day. Own your morning, own your day, and other people will not own your time. It's super important. So basically at the very end of this chapter, he says this: where do you most need to grow right now? Is it in self-management? Is there an issue that you need to fix that you're wrestling with? Are there experiences or a plateau in your career, in your relationships? He's just naming a whole bunch of things. Where do you need to grow? Whatever your issue is, create questions around it and spend some time writing your answers down. And these questions will ultimately help you reflect and course correct if need be. Are you working on your relationships, spiritual growth, physical, emotional, whatever it is? Ask yourself some good questions. Have an awareness of where you're at. Reflect and go, yep, I'm on the right path. I just need some patience, because he talked about hard work and waiting. Or, you know what, I've been doing this for 5 years, or clearly my relationship isn't getting better. There's lots of things that you can ask yourself. This is full of incredible questions. You just have to do the work. So reflect. Thought it was a great chapter. Tomorrow we'll talk about the law of consistency. Motivation gets you going. Discipline keeps you growing. All of these books are very similar. It's just a matter of putting in the work and then doing it consistently every day. I loved what he said. And it was simply hold on, I should read it one more time because I think it was super powerful. He says, I believe it's a person's secret to success is found in their daily agenda. What does your daily agenda look like? Do you have it written down? If you've got goals, this is mine. All of these things must be done, hopefully in the morning, if not later in the day. It's the daily little actions that I don't see. I don't see all of these things on my list come to pass today, but it's my daily actions every single day that will get me to where I want to go. Super important. All right. Clearly the sun is coming in hot. So I hope you have a great morning. As always, reach out with questions. Continue to tune into the page. If you're looking for recipes, KetoMomSecrets.com has all of the recipes. It's always my number one question. Otherwise, I hope you have an incredible morning, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.